Africans who came to Putin's summit call for resumption of Ukrainian grain agreement.
Here's a summary of the article.
The African Union is calling for the immediate resumption of a UN-brokered deal that allows Ukraine to export millions of tons of grain, which was terminated at Russia's whim. Quote, "We will discuss it with Putin to see how we can restart this agreement," said Comoros President Azali Assoumani, who heads the 55-nation African Union. Putin is meeting with 17 African leaders on the 27th to the 28th of July as the increasingly isolated Russian leader tries to maintain relations with the African continent, which has close historical ties to Moscow. During the Russian-African summit in St. Petersburg, Putin promised to supply free grain to 6 African countries. According to the Russian president, Burkina Faso, Zimbabwe, Mali, Somalia, the Central African Republic and Eritrea will receive the grain. At the Russia-Africa summit, Putin also stated that the total amount of the debt of African countries written off by Moscow is currently $23 billion. According to the latest requests from African countries, we will allocate more than $90 million for these purposes and their development, he said.
This post received a score of 4,000, with an upvote ratio of 97%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Let me invite you to a fun party while I starve your people.
Grain blackmail.
It's not blackmail, it's extortion.
The X makes it sound cool.
Wait until you hear about the new name this one billionaire gave to the company he bought.
I tried it and it wasn't as good as this other company that according to its domain name is 3 times as fun.
Most of them are rightly worried. Rising grain prices are often followed by political instabilities. Many of these dictators should be scared for their future.
And they shouldn't be stupid enough to believe the grain shortage is Ukraine's fault. I imagine it'll still be an official stance for at least one of them though.
Most of them have made their bed already. When China and Russia are your only viable trading partners, I do not think you have much leverage.
It's too late. Putin already bombed the ports, farms and grain silos. The damage is done and it won't be repaired anytime soon. The world needs to prepare for a food crisis. The world also needs to prepare harsher sanctions against Russia and its allies.
Didn't we already have guaranteed grain before the invasion? Putin's Russia has caused them to not have grain to begin with. Bro created a problem, then pretend like he isn't the reason for problem.
Typical Russian behavior.
Well, Putin, you can't befriend these representatives from Africa, then stave their people.
Greater than well, Putin, you can't befriend these representatives from Africa, then stave their people. Half of them are dictators who live on starving their people. So I'm pretty sure he can befriend them just fine.
He said, stave, not starve. So he's beating their people with a stave, not starving them. So presumably not as bad because he can only beat so many people with a stick at a time.
NATO claims it will provide security to ships transporting grain. IDK if this is just surveillance, but it should be interesting in the coming weeks to see if they actually step in and create new routes that are protected. This is international waters. One way or another, I'm not sure this can continue for much longer. Putin is probably testing to see how long he can keep this up to get what he wants. Imagine. Putin's actions once again causes NATO to have a bigger presence in the Black Sea and their ships going back and forth. I'm starting to think Putin really wants NATO around. Hey.
The only nation at this time that can provide true security is Turkey with its navy. No one else can enter the Black Sea by what is essentially an ancient treaty.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.